It's finally time. From the creators of Cars 3 the game and Hannah Montana Spotlight World Tour comes Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I want to start this video off by letting everyone know that I'm by no means a huge Harry Potter fan. In fact, it was only last year that I finally crawled out of that hermit cave I was living in to watch the Harry Potter movies. And the entire time I was watching those movies, I was pretty much just kicking myself because I was thinking, how have I taken this long to watch these movies? Like, how am I 22 years old and I haven't watched these? Like, I missed out on so much in my childhood from not watching these. Anyway, without further ado, let's get right into my first impressions of Hogwarts Legacy. Is it trash or is it amazing? Well, in my opinion, I think it's fucking trash. Psych! Nah, actually I think it's an amazing game. It surpassed my expectations. I was worried that this game would be some kind of run-of-the-mill Ubisoft-esque open-world game, but it's really not. There's a lot to see in this game, and it's always intriguing and interesting, and full of detail as well. Now, before I get into the good and the bad of this game, I want to address the elephant in the room. This game runs like dog shit. Seriously, it runs like a 2008 BMW that hasn't had his oil change since it rolled off the fucking lot. This game stutters and sputters like a lobotomite trying to give a classroom presentation. I mean, even on console, this game isn't well optimized. I've heard reports of it stuttering, as well as having loading times in between each door. I haven't really had that issue on PC, but my main issue has been frame drops as well as stuttering. I haven't had any issues with loading, but the frame drops were so bad. Keep in mind, I'm running this on a 3070, so this really shouldn't be happening. But for me, I found that reducing the texture detail improved the frame drops dramatically. There seems to be some sort of VRAM issue with the game. I don't know if it's just using too much or if there's a leak, but that seems to be the issue, and lowering the texture detail solved that for me. I still get some stuttering, but no frame drops anymore. Now with that out of the way, let's get right into the good and the bad of the game. And I'm going to start with the good because there's just so much to like about this game. And I'm not exaggerating, I swear to God. Let's just start off with the graphics. Just flat out, the graphics are just amazing. Hogwarts Castle, need I say more? Hogwarts Castle, just look at it. It's beautiful. It's very clear that the devs were painstaking and meticulous when they designed the castle. Like, it's almost one-to-one with the movies. It's insane. It just really sucks that the performance issues are hindering the game because the first time I experienced the castle was literally in like 3 FPS. It was a fucking slideshow. It was like a PowerPoint presentation that the devs made before they made the game. But yeah, anyway, if you're a huge Harry Potter fan, this might make you jizz in your pants, man. I don't know what else to say. Like, this is every Harry Potter fan's wet dream right here. But of course, a game is nothing without its gameplay. So how does the game play? Well, I'm happy to say that combat is amazing. I can only equate this to something like God of War, where you have to keep enemies in the air and juggle them, except instead of being a big burly man with a fucking hatchet, you're a really skinny 5th-year student with a wand. Oh, and did I mention you can adjust the stiffness and the length of your wand? Personally, I went with a really long and flaccid wand, for no particular reason whatsoever. And you're using different... You're using different spells to combo and keep an enemy in the air. So, for example, I could use Levioso to levitate an enemy in the air, then I could hit him with a couple basic strikes, and then I could use Accio to pull them towards me, and then I can keep wailing on them, and then I can just use the fucking fire spell and blow them up, and then they're dead. You can actually kill people in this game. Like, I didn't expect that at all. This is hardcore. I guess the only complaint I could have about combat is that maybe it might get a bit repetitive as I keep playing the game, but for right now, I'm just having a blast. And I don't even have all the spells yet, so as I get more spells, you can just create more combos and use, you know, different spells in combination with each other, and I think that's a really, really cool way of doing it. Enemies also have their own shields, so you have to use specific spells to break those shields in order to actually do damage to them. So there's like red shields, yellow shields, and blue shields, and you have to use a corresponding spell to be able to break those shields. There is also a dodge roll, which everyone knows makes it a Souls-like, right? Oh god. There's also a block and a parry in the game, as well as a perfect parry. Basically, if you press the block button right as you get hit, it's just like any game, except you have to hold the block button and your character will shoot out a stupefy spell that will stun an enemy. All in all, the combat was surprisingly engaging and fun, and I'm just having a blast with it. Another good point I have about this game are the classes along with the teachers. The teachers are really zany, they're really quirky, they're cool, they're just like in the movies, like one for one, honestly. The classes themselves are also pretty fun and intriguing. They all have their own cutscenes where you learn a new spell or a new enchantment or a new potion to craft or a new plant to plant. It's kind of like a wizard version of Bully. And if a game can make going to class fun, then, I mean, it's a pretty good game, right? And each class has a purpose within the main story. So, for example, you might need a spell to continue the main quest, so you do have to attend class. It's not like an optional thing. There are some potions that you can't craft without a plant that you learn to craft in the herbology class, which I think is pretty interesting. There are some puzzles that you find within the game that you have to basically find a specific spell to solve that puzzle. So, for example, there was a puzzle where I had to light some torches on fire, and I had to use, of course, the fire spell. There are other puzzles where I had to move platforms, and I had to use the... I wanted to say force pull because I'm such a Star Wars nerd, but it was like a Casio or some shit like that. It's pretty rare for me to actually enjoy the puzzles in a game. Having these different ways to solve a puzzle using these spells made it a lot more intriguing for me personally. So yeah, so far those are what I really like about the game, and now let's get into the bads. The intro to this game was honestly kind of painstakingly slow. It was essentially a series of follow quests, which I really, really despise. I mean, it's literally just following a character while they dump lore and information on you, and that is just never fun, in my opinion. Luckily, it does end, right? It does give you the autonomy to go out into the world and do whatever you want, but those first couple hours just kind of were a bit boring to me. Another issue I had, and it's kind of a nitpick, but I wish the sorting hat would ask you more than 2 questions before deciding where you should go, like what house you should stay in. Like, it's weird because in the movies they don't really ask you questions, but I feel like in the game it would make a lot more sense if you could just kind of answer a question, kind of similar to like the Fallout quizzes you would get in the beginning of the game that really had no effect on the story. But in this game, I mean, you could ask more questions and you could get a more specific, specialized house. I was given Ravenclaw, and I am just not Ravenclaw, okay? I'm Gryffindor through and through. So I was offended and I was appalled, frankly. And another issue I had was that I couldn't change the controller controls. Like, I couldn't rebind keys. And I mean, it's a pretty basic functionality to have in most games. And I feel like accessibility wise and just in a general sense, it should be something that is allowed. You know, it should just be something that you can do. I wanted my left shoulder button to be the block spell, which I just couldn't do. I had to get used to using the Y button. And of course there's the performance issues that I mentioned earlier in the video, which in my opinion it's the biggest issue that this game has right now. It's the performance. It's stuttery and it's laggy, and I'm not sure why it is that AAA games like launch in this condition. It's just inexcusable in my opinion, especially on PS5 and Xbox Series S and X. Like, the game should at least be optimized for console, right? Like, if a game isn't running well on console, that is just a really bad sign. Luckily, the gameplay of this game is just freaking fantastic, so it's worth playing the game regardless, kind of like how Elden Ring was. I've only run into one bug so far. What is this person sitting on? Hello? Oh, okay, goodbye. So that's a good sign. And yeah, those are pretty much my initial thoughts of the game. I'm having a blast, and so far it's like a 9 out of 10 game. Probably bumped down to an 8 because of the performance issues, but other than that, this game is solid. Like, it's worth a purchase. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to playing Hogwarts Legacy now. I may have a problem, but I don't care. I don't need sleep. I don't need food. I just need Hogwarts Legacy. Thank you. Goodbye.